that's why we love training to the extent that we do, because that's what completes us essentially. And then that's why we're prepared to take the risks that we do as well, because no risk, no reward. The bigger the risk, the bigger the mini victory.
Right.
Looking back, if you had to pick one movement for loading, they asked specifically about biceps and triceps.
Okay.
What do you think, looking back on everything, if you had to do one movement for biceps and one for triceps? I know how you think maximum tension, maximum overload, all that stuff, brutal exercises. What do you think actually are the best?
For biceps, in my opinion, it would be probably just a single-armed standing cable curl or a single-armed preacher machine curl, personally. I think that all of the heavy barbell dumbbell work in the world is not going to compare to just training your biceps one arm at a time. I think that you literally can't go wrong when you do that. And then being locked into a decent preacher machine, for me, is just perfect. And then if you have the ability to have something like a Strive or a Prime machine where you can then adjust the resistance profile, like as soon as you finish that set, you're like, wow, okay, that's pretty perfect. Doesn't feel much better than that. And then for triceps, I'm then actually the opposite. I then want to load them up as absolutely heavy as I can, and it'll be either a closed grip press or a heavy skull crusher. Sadly for me, my elbows don't really last very long when I do heavy skull crushers. Like mine were feeling really good not so long ago, and I managed to skull crush 100 kilos for like 4 reps with like pretty decent form. But then they were shot after that. So it's been more typically like a narrow grip Smith, something where you don't have to stabilize, and then you can just load the poundage. Because one of the kind of the rules when it comes to creating huge progressive overload is that we want something where we can create quite large amounts of stability, and then a Smith machine with a narrow kind of just shoulder width grip is going to allow you to really move some decent weight. And then realistically from that, something's got to grow, and it should be your triceps. If they don't, then probably been the wrong thing.
That's interesting that you just said both the things that I know Dusty totally agrees with.
Now, it's not shocking why I haven't ever even said out loud who I was hiring to help me grow in this offseason. Everyone already knows. I didn't say anything. I was like, well, so JP's doing. I'm like, I didn't say that yet. I haven't sent the contract, but yes.
It's interesting how, like a lot of people still have that mentality where like barbells and dumbbells for everything, like you said.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you about certain exercises, even on certain machines, just you can outload any free weight exercise by removing all the, stability factors and, all that sort of stuff. And that's one of the principles that attracted me to like HIIT training back in like the early 90s, reading about Menser having guys training on almost all machines.
Yeah.
And it was
I think he was so revolutionary in his thinking. We all know that him and then Dorian and then Dante, that they were so ahead of anyone else, in my opinion, when it came to really understanding how to stimulate muscles to grow. I feel like a lot of the guys at the time then just lifted weights, had good genetics, and then grew kind of just because they were always destined to look that way if they just got a pair of weights in their hands.
Yeah, but if you think about like curling a barbell, I'll tell clients all the time, like they'll say, why do you like to use the cables on a curl? I'm like, do a set with a barbell curl. Now do the same thing with a cable. The constant tension you can't deny is ridiculous.
Absolutely not. Like the way that you can feel every aspect through the range of motion with a cable curl is very, very different. And Yeah. I've worked my way up again to 100 kilo barbell curls or 100 kilo easy bar curls.
Right.
That doesn't even remotely compare to a single arm cable curl using a small proportion of the overall load.
Yep.
I still think that, Dorian came along. I was right there for it. I saw it, the arrival, the whole thing. And he changed everything. And everyone was thinking differently. And then Ronnie came along. And all of a sudden, everybody wanted to squat again and deadlift and lunge in the parking lot. And it was all good because they all wanted to train hard, lightweight baby. But it wasn't Dorian's style of training. It was volume training.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4 sets, and the fourth set is a heavy, hard one, and the form's a little loose on it. That sort of training. And he was super fucking strong, which was impressive, but he was also Ronnie. And
I have no idea still how he was capable of doing the things he did.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing. I'm strong on one set if I do singles and doubles working up to that one set. He was able to do some of that shit after doing like 12, 10, 8, and then he'd then go at like a working 8 or like a working 12. Like, it was crazy how much he was fatiguing his muscles before he would then even do kind of work sets.
Yeah.
And the level of poundage that he was still able to use was astronomical.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that when everyone started training like Dorian, I saw the whole sport progress. And then while everyone was training like Ronnie, I didn't think the sport really progressed as much because Ronnie's Ronnie.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
sure.
saying? And I think that sort of interrupted the progress that Dorian's training brought us in a way.
Yeah.
It took it out of the spotlight and it put it in like the dark closets, like where you were and where Dusty was and I was, and it wasn't necessarily the way everyone wanted to train. And I sometimes wonder, like we're seeing, the popularity of progressive training, largely because of figures like you, obviously. And I'm just wondering if what would have happened if that style of training would have remained in the mainstream. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. I think we'd have certainly seen, well, I don't know if it's hard to say because for whatever reason, there were still incredibly muscular physiques that came along. But certainly, yeah, it would have been interesting.
I think what you see is your top guys are always your top guys.
Yeah.
Like they're always going to be
true.
there. But your guys that are that next group and the one behind that, those are the guys that are impacted. Let's think about it, JP. If guys like you and I trained like Flex Wheeler, you wouldn't even know our name. Like
100%.
It'd be nothing. I don't care how much drugs, how much food, it wouldn't have happened. That's just the way it is. Whereas I think that's why I hate it, because I've had people say to me, I've never seen Phil Heath do that. And I'm like, I'm a white human, average genetics guy, and he is the best genetics possibly ever. Why are we in the same sentence?
Sure.
Like, or they'll, on the flip, they'll say, do you think Phil should have trained more like you? And I'm like, absolutely not. Why? So he get injured? He doesn't need to risk it. The risk to reward for us is a must.
And the thing is, when you have a physique as talented as him, he doesn't even have to consider taking those mini victories from a training session.
No.
Whereas for us, please don't take this in a disrespectful way, but that's kind of all we've got.
Oh, for sure. I agree. That's not disrespectful. That's a fact.
That's so I totally relate to what you just said, dude. Yeah.
So that's why we love training to the extent that we do.
Yeah.
Because that's what completes us essentially. And then that's why we're prepared to take the risks that we do as well, because no risk, no reward. The bigger the risk, the bigger the mini victory.
Right. Well, plus, it's also the fun. Like I said, if you took away all the fame of Trained by JP and you had a job working somewhere, you would go to the gym and do what you do now.
Oh, 100%.
Like that doesn't change, and that's why like people got confused because they're like, no, you've been blasting for the last 2 years. I'm like, I don't know how to train any other way.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. I wasn't trying to get bigger. I was trying to beat numbers. Like that was competitive against myself, whether there was Instagram or not. I don't think most people can understand that that's just loving lifting weights.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't trade though. That's what's funny. I wouldn't trade with those guys even for their wins, because I don't imagine that they love it the way that I do. Maybe they do, but I just have a hard time imagining it's as fun to squeeze weights as it is to squeak out one more rep.
I believe that they love and are motivated for different things.
Right.
I genuinely believe that. I believe that training for a lot of them is often a chore.
Right.
I've sadly witnessed it firsthand with very special individuals that they just don't love it. It's almost like they have to do it. Mm-hmm. It's like, fuck, I've got to go train. Whereas for us, it's like, yes.
Right.
can't wait to train. Like, so yeah, they definitely love something else. I think they love the money, the notoriety, the fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then again, who wouldn't love all those things in their position?
Yeah, I'll take those as well. But
exactly.
Can I have both, please? Thanks.
Yeah.